In this video, I'm going to show you how to make a graph that shows where your vowels are. It'll show how different they are in acoustics, how different the sounds are. This will help you to know if your pronunciation is as clear as it could be. We'll use a program called Prot. That's for measuring the resonant frequencies in your voice. If you're not sure what a resonant frequency is, you can check one of my other videos to learn about that. But basically, they're the strongest frequencies in your voice, and they make the difference between a sound like an ah or an e. So, let's get started. First, you'll need to download Prot from their website. You can just do a quick Google search for Prot, P-R-A-A-T. That's probably the quickest, but the URL is here if you need it. Now, in the upper left, you can choose your operating system. I'm on a Windows machine here. And you'll need to download one of two versions. My computer is a 64-bit computer. Odds are yours probably is too, if it's newer than about 5 years. But if you want to be totally safe, any computer can run the 32-bit one. So, we'll download it, get that zip file. Once you've got that, you need to unzip it. Windows can do that for you. Then you'll run prot.exe. So, here's Prot. We're going to go to New and record mono sound. Then we'll record with this button here. Now, in the Excel file, you'll see a list of utterances, a list of sentences you should read. We want to have the target word more or less in the middle of the sentence, because then we'll get a consistent intonation. If you put it at the beginning or the end of the sentence, that can change how it sounds. So, we want to say something like, type Pete first. Type Pete first. If we want to record Pete, let's put that in. Type Pete first. How's that sound? Let's listen. Type Pete first. Not great, but not bad either. Let's save to list and close. Now we'll click View and Edit to open that file up. Alright, now I've got a sound sample that I can check on. So we can select here and hit Tab to listen.
Type Pete first.
We want to just zoom in on Pete. That's the one with the vowel we care about.
Pete, Pete.
Sounds okay. This area here is not very interesting to us. Let's listen.
Pete, Pete.
That's called the aspiration. That's the puff of air that comes after we make a P sound. This area, though,
Pete, Pete.
that's the vowel. So let's find a place where the dark areas are fairly flat. They don't move very much. Prot is showing us formants with the red dots, and that's a good help. So I'll click in an area I think looks pretty good. Usually close to the middle of the vowel is best. And hit F1 on my keyboard to get the first formant frequency. I'll write that down. It's 281. I'll close that, and without clicking again, I push F2. That's an important point. We want to always measure in the same place. If I take an F1 and an F2 in different places, it's meaningless. I want it only in the same spot. 2,602.8. I'll round that up to 2,603. That's my F2. Now, let's put that into the Excel spreadsheet. So, here's our vowel chart in Excel. I've got 3 different graphs. My vowels, my partner's vowels, Jeff's vowels. They all have the same values, though, right now. We're going to change that soon. Each graph shows the data from a different page. So, the ones for Jeff's vowels are vowels I recorded about a year ago. Those values are here. You'll put yours in my vowels, and then your second set go in my partner's vowels. So let's put in the value I just took from Prot. My F1 for Pete is 281. My F2 is 2603. Okay, that's my E sound. Now I'm going to want to continue doing that for all of these sounds. E, I, E, U, Peet, pit, pet, pat, poot, put, put, pot, pert. A thing to keep in mind, though, is our goal is to have very different vowels. The further my vowels are apart, the easier it is for someone to listen to my pronunciation and understand. So if we look at my vowel chart here, my as in put, is very close to my as in pot. Put, pot, put, pot. If I want my pronunciation to be more clear, I'd want those to be further apart. You can see it doesn't mean necessarily that I should try to have more native-like pronunciation. If you want to sound more like a native, that's not a bad goal necessarily. But I think the most important thing is to have very different vowels. Even for native speakers, that's the important thing. Because we want people to understand we're saying pot and not put. We want them to hear the difference when we speak. How can we make our different vowels sound more different? Well, you can change the shape of your vocal tract. That's everything from your vocal folds all the way up to the front of your face. You can open your jaw a little more to make a lower sound much lower, right? If I want my pot to sound more like an ah, I can say ah, pot, pot. I can try to really open my jaw more, pot. And that'll make it more clearly an open sound. I can also adjust how far forward or back I move my tongue. So if I want my ah sound to be more clearly ah, I can move it back. And instead of a Japanese sounding ah, I would pull my tongue back. Ah. Maybe you can see a little ah, ah, ah. Then I have a more clear pot sound. Pot. Dog. 2 strategies. But I can also do a little kind of sneaky thing that makes my pronunciation much more clear. And that's to make a double vowel called a diphthong. Many native speakers make a diphthong for things that are listed as monophthongs, single vowels, on the official vowel chart. My mom, for instance, doesn't say kids. She says kids. Kids. Can you hear the difference? Ki, kid, kid. There's an E sound and then an S sound. Kids. That might be easier for you to say. Ki, kids. Likewise, if you have trouble making an A sound, you can go from an to an a, and say something like cat, cat. It'll sound pretty close to how a native speaker says a, just the single monophthong, a, cat. Those are 3 strategies you can have. Now, you might want to make a difference in the length of the vowel. So, for example, you might want to make the difference between peat and pit by having peat be long, peat, and pit short, peat. Many Japanese speakers and speakers of a lot of languages try to make this difference, peat, peat. Unfortunately, most Americans can't hear the difference in long and short vowels. Well, they can hear it, but it's not a different category in our brains. It's a reason why when native English speakers or American English speakers try to learn Japanese, they have a lot of difficulty with words like ie, no, versus ie, right, your house. So if you try to make the difference in the vowel, peat, peat, probably most Americans won't be able to hear that difference. So you should choose something like the diphthong strategy, e, ie, or lower your jaw more, e, or move your tongue back, e. You can also try to adjust what you're doing with your lips. That can be a helpful cue to you too. So instead of saying e, you can use a smile for e, and bring your lips down a little, e. That can be a helpful cue to you. Most of what's really happening, most of the important things are inside your mouth, but it can be helpful to cue yourself with a smile, e, and a kind of frown, I. I hope those tips help you to have more comprehensible, easier to understand pronunciation.